All right, welcome everybody to another Ask Philip. This is for January 3rd, 2025. Before we get into this, a couple announcements. First, last couple episodes on the podcast you might be very interested in. One was for the new year. It came out Wednesday, episode 264, 25 New Year's ideas to lose fat, gain muscle, boost your metabolism. And what I did for this episode is over the holidays, I literally sat down and came up with just 25 accessible, creative, helpful ideas for training food, nutrition, consistency, all these things. And I break them down in the episode. And then if you're watching this on YouTube and you're not in the Facebook group where I'm actually hosting this, go into that episode and join our Facebook group. The link is also below. And you can get the PDF that goes with this that has the whole list as well. And then the other episode this week is today. An interview with Molly McNamee. This is about cortisol, and what I like about Molly is we get past the fear mongering around cortisol as being the root of all evil, and really talk about how cortisol is a downstream effect of stress. And she has very practical, simple ways to reduce stress. Not things like let's overhaul your whole life and do like meditation practices and breathing exercises and everything. She actually has very simple, like 30-second, 1-minute type things that you can do. So if you're feeling stressed or you're having trouble with fat loss because you think there's a stress component, which there usually is, that is a great episode to check out. And as always, hit follow in your podcast app to make sure you get new episodes. And actually, I haven't mentioned it in a while, but if you go to Apple Podcasts, Nutrition Science Daily, we also have a fairly new-ish podcast. It's been out for about a month now, called Nutrition Science Daily. And these are like 5-6 minute episodes every day during the week to start your morning off with the latest news from fat loss, health science, nutrition science, viral trends. I try to get a good combination of news, research findings, and just like quirky, interesting stuff. Like what are people saying on TikTok and does it make sense? And then practical tips to apply that to your life. So if you like that kind of thing and we're trying to grow the show, go in there and definitely give us a 5-star review. We have like 5 reviews so far. I think somebody gave it a 3 and the others gave it a 5. So we need help kind of getting that number up if you enjoy the show. So go check out Nutrition Science Daily, give it a follow. And that's all I'll say about that. And the last thing, and I posted this in the group in a few different ways, is there is a New Year's challenge for MacroFactor. They're giving away $50,000 to the winner and then $500 to 100 more people. And it's a transformation challenge, not just for fat loss, but they're going to consider health and physique and muscle building and stuff like that. You can go to macrofactorapp.com/challenge to sign up. When you download MacroFactor, very, very important, if you haven't already done this, use my code, Wits and Weights, all one word, Wits and Weights, all one word, and that'll give you an extra week on the free trial, and it'll help me out as well. So I appreciate your support there. But I'm encouraging people to do this because it's just another incentive to get the year started off strong. Okay, so with that in mind, let's jump into today's Ask Philip. We have 2 questions today. For those that are new, Ask Philip is our bi-weekly at the moment thread here in the Wits and Weights Facebook group where you can ask a question and I'll answer it. And I go into a little more detail than I would with, for example, on the podcast where it's a little more generic. And also because it's personalized, you can follow up on this video for questions that I may not have covered or to give me more context after I answer your question and keep the conversation going. So we're going to answer 2 questions today. The first one is from Josh. And Josh said, and by the way, he posted this in another post, but I copied it in here. Deep into a gaining phase. So he's gaining muscle. He's in a surplus. I'm building good muscle and more fat than I'd like. So hopefully, Josh, you're going at the right rate of gain, maybe around probably 0.3% of your body weight a week. Because if you're going faster than that, that could be a cause of the extra fat. If you're just saying that, hey, this is normal and I've just done it so long that now I'm getting to the point where I want to end the bulk, that's a different situation. All right. He said, such as life, I guess. As my body grows, I'm getting stiff and losing mobility. What are good strategies for maintaining mobility and range of motion as I build so I can limit my exposure to injury and I don't feel so stiff and clunky? It's a great question, Josh, because one of the benefits when you are gaining is the leverages change, but you also get more force production. So you're able to push, you're able to push the weights, right? You feel strong. And I could see, however, that because your leverages are changing and because you have extra muscle mass and extra fat and you're getting a little bit of a different body shape and fat and maybe the places you don't want, it's kind of slowing you down a bit, making you still feel stiff and whatnot. Here's what came to mind for me. First of all, you talk about range of motion. Are you doing a good variety of power building, strength, bodybuilding style movements? I don't know what your training looks like. Are they your classic movements? I would say for some folks, adding in some unilateral work might be helpful, right? So if you're feeling limited in a certain joint, maybe it's legs, and you can try some split squats, some walking lunges, step ups, things like that. Or if it's upper body, single arm work, right? Whether it's rows or presses or whatever, that is one thing that could be helpful. Secondly, making sure you're actually going through the full range of motion for the lifts. And I like a deep stretch as well as potentially a pause, like introducing pauses to a squat can be super powerful. You're definitely gonna have to lighten the load, but it could help with your strength through the movement. What else comes to mind is basically, are you active? So one reason for becoming stiff is you're just not moving very much between your workouts, right? Are you walking? You don't have to do cardio, but cardio can actually be super helpful for recovery in a gaining phase, kind of counterintuitively, right? People tend to lower their cardio because they think, well, I'm trying to gain, right? I don't want to burn a bunch of calories. But from a recovery and I guess the stiffness and avoiding clunkiness feeling, being active and moving a lot could be helpful. So that's what I'm thinking. As far as exposure to injury, that's an interesting one. Sometimes that actually is benefited when you gain, but in other points, you're able to push harder than your connective tissue, your joints, your tendons would allow. So that is where putting the pause in there and not, really paying attention to form and tempo and not just like going all out, a nice slow eccentric, maybe a pause, and then your typical explosive concentric. Let me know if those things help. If you're already doing all that, follow up with some follow-up details about what your training and movement look like and some more details. Where are you getting stiff? Where are you losing mobility? Because I think using full movement patterns through the full range of motion with strength, with typical compound lifts is a way to maintain mobility. But I'm really curious where the details are. All right. So Scott asked the question, and then there were some follow-ups here. I'm 95 days into my first ever lean bulk. So that's 3 months. So awesome. Congrats. I usually recommend at minimum 5 or 6 months. I'm absolutely loving this process. I've had some hiccups meeting calorie goals, but I'm good now. I've changed my workout split from a bro split to a 5-day split. And that has really helped jump my gains over the last month and a half. So when you say like a bro split could be 5 days. So I'm assuming you're saying you went to more of a, upper lower back or power building style split or conjugate style split or push pull legs kind of thing, right? Macro Factor says I should reach my goal of 205 pounds by the end of January. My plan then is to cut, but I have no idea what goal weight to come down to. How should I determine what weight to cut to? And then I said, well, why do you want to cut? What is your goal, right? What's the context? And you said, I'm not sure why I want to cut, to be honest. I'm enjoying putting muscle on, but at 51 and only 5'9", 205 seems heavy. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm 5'9", and I'm 190 right now, and I'm trying to get to 200, just so you know. I'm enjoying the challenge, so I'm thinking now challenging myself to cut and then bulk again seems enjoyable to me. I really enjoyed your last podcast mapping out a whole year. And, I didn't mean to plug my podcast. I let you do it for me, but just so people know what the heck you're talking about. Episode 260 came out just before Christmas, the 12-month fat loss and muscle gain blueprint. Check that episode out because it's exactly what you said. I take you through an entire 12-month period, phase 1 through 5, including cuts, bulks, maintenance, recovery, everything. And so your question is what target weight should you get to? And my answer for that is instead of thinking of a target weight, what I would do is pick a rate of loss. So think of a calorie deficit that you've done before. Maybe you haven't, but something reasonable, like a pound a week. That's a 500 calorie deficit a day, right? For some guys your size, you're not even gonna notice it practically with the dieting. Like that's so close to maintenance in a weird way. So think of a rate of loss. So let's say it's a pound a week. And then you're like, okay, how long do I want to do this for? Let's say 10 weeks, 15 weeks. That's going to be 10 to 15 pounds. And that would get you back down to 195 or so, maybe 190. That's a decent enough cut at your size and probably as low as I'd want to go, just to test out the waters and then see how you feel, how you look. What do your measurements say, like your waist measurements and your other measurements? Your lifting, like hopefully it doesn't suffer that much because you're going at a very moderate drop. See how your physique evolves and then reassess, because you might love it at 195. You might be like, oh, great. I just revealed a bunch of muscle. I leaned out. I'm still strong. I still get to eat a lot and I'm good. Or you might say, okay, now I'm down to 195. It's still not where I want to be. And then you can address, do I want to do a mini cut now? Do I want to take a break? Do I want to bulk a little bit again and then do a more aggressive cut? So it's not really the target weight. Now, if I were to say, in my experience, working with clients, working with guys your size, knowing that I'm that size, I would say you're actually in a really good spot right now for lifting and for, metabolism and carrying around muscle mass and carrying out weight, but you may not be happy with how you look, and that's cool. That's cool. So do what I just suggested. Pick a rate of loss that's sustainable. Pick a duration that makes sense. Do it, see how you feel, and then you'll know if that's your target weight or not. Okay. Sorry not to give you a straight answer, but that's pretty reasonable. 10, 15 pounds. A bigger, more drastic cut would be 20, 25 pounds. But lots of guys I've worked with have done like 6 to 8 week mini cuts, and they'll drop like 10, 12 pounds. And that usually works out really well to see where you're at and then go from there. Okay, everybody, that's Ask Philip for today, January 3rd. The next one will be posted shortly for 2 weeks from now, but the post will be posted in a few days, and then you can start posting your questions. Hope everyone has an awesome weekend. Happy New Year. Enjoy all the free content we put out there, and please reach out for help. Send a question, comment, reach out to me on Instagram at Wits and Weights. Definitely follow the podcast, both Wits and Weights and Nutrition Science Daily, and I will talk to you next time.